Hi, I'm Jaden, and today I'm going to be teaching you about how to properly set up and maintain a fire in 4 different ways in the wintertime. Now, the first way we're going to set up this fire is we're going to use the fire bow strategy. So, I'm going to real quick set one up and show you how it works. So these are the basic things you're going to need. You're going to need a piece of wood to make your spindle out of. You're going to need a bow. You're going to need a baseboard. And you're going to need a top block. I'm going to go ahead and fashion up this spindle. And basically the characteristics of the spindle, you want it to be straight and you want it to be dry. So this stuff, it's very straight, very dry, and it'll work just beautifully for this. And also when you're making your spindle, keep hold of the wood shavings, because you can also use those as tinder later. This is going to take a while, so I'm going to do one of these, and our spindle's going to be done. So what you'll notice about this is it's got a pointy end here, so that you get less friction in where the heck I put the top block. You're going to have less friction up top and more friction on the bottom, which is where it's going into the bottom plate. You want that friction so that you get as much heat as possible to get your embers. Alright, so now we've got some snow cleared out, got the top bottom block, got the spindle, got the bow. We're ready to start burning it in. So let's just set our bottom block aside there, put the point down, spin it over. It's nice and tight, so you know it's not going to slip. You know, you can do top block in, then put it on the bottom, or bottom then on the top. Depends how you like to do it. I just sort of alternate between the 2 different methods. And then we're just going to start going back and forth, back and forth. So it's working, just the exact opposite of how I want it to. Because we want that bottom to get hot, we want the top to stay cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some grease on the end of the spindle to lubricate it. So that we end up getting our heat at the bottom and not the top. Alright, so it's getting a little late. Grab some light, grab some fresh batteries. Gonna crack on getting this going. So, as I was saying before, we got this bottom block nice and hot. Got some stuff there, it's pretty nice. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a notch out of here, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow the ember that we're going to create to fall through and onto our tinder, which then we're going to use to get the fire going, right? So let's just get going on that. Alright, so I've got the notch cut out. I'm going to put my newspaper down here, which is totally a natural resource that you'll find in any sort of woods. I found mine in the woods just north of Fort St. John. It actually comes pre-printed, and you know, it has pretty up-to-date stuff. So all that to say, if you get stuck in the northern wilderness, keep an eye out for the wild newspaper plants. They're out there, trust me. And so you're going to put your newspaper down here, and then they're wild newspaper plants. Take some of your dry tinder, grab some dry grass too. Anything sticking up out of the snow is going to be pretty dry. As long as it's not been frosty recently, you should be just fine grabbing some grass, just like this. Stick that under there too, so that you have as much chance as possible of catching that ember. Now, I'm going to grab the spindle, top block, and bow. I'm going to shut up and get to work. Alright. So now you got your fire. You're going to want to start adding some little bits and pieces that are going to burn. You're going to catch light. You're going to use your bottom block as your base, because it's already a piece of wood that you know that's dry.
When building this fire, I employed the teepee method of stacking the wood. This is where the wood is stacked like a teepee, starting with little sticks leaning into the center, then continuing to add larger and larger logs on top. This method is an effective way to make a hot cooking fire, as the flame is concentrated towards the center, making a nice hot spot.
So for the second method of starting fires, we're going to do the log cabin method with flint and steel. So what this is what I did is I built a base, and then I did 2 layers of logs, both perpendicular to each other, making it so that there's room for it to breathe. And then I filled the middle with smaller sticks. I've got a bed for grass here I'm going to catch with the flint and steel, and then have this fire going. I'm going to put a log on top so that it can actually catch and get this thing going. So after far too much struggling, got this starting to burn. And so when you get it going little, you want to focus on one little part. You don't want to focus on a big part of the fire. You want to focus on one little flame. Because that little flame, if you nurture it, it will get going. If you focus on something here, something over here, all of those at once, you're not going to get a good fire going. You're just going to get a bunch of little stuff going, not for very long, and it's going to go out really quick. We're going to, since all that's down there is established, I'm putting a big log up here, so once this is going, all the coals are going to fall down to the bottom, and so it's going to be a nice, good established small fire. Or big fire, depending on how you want it. This one's probably going to be a little bigger than it should be, but we'll let it go. So, our next fire is going to be with this. So what this is it's a fire starter that I put together. Ooh. Yeah, be careful about those sorts of things with these fires. Is being a teepee, they're not all that stable once they're burned away. Anyways, this is a fire starter made from an egg carton, and I put a little bit of dry lint, a little bit of wood shavings, and then bacon grease in there. So it's a fantastic windproof, waterproof, well, water resistant. If it gets wet, you're still not going to have a fun time starting. But very good. Burns for 2 to 3 minutes, depending on, you know, depending on how fast you get your fire started. You might not notice. Anyways, let's get cracking. So, same with the other fires. We're gonna clear away a little pit. Where we're gonna start our fire. And then we're gonna bring in our wood. That smoke is really nice, just saying. Anyways, the fire that I'm going to show you now, it is I'm gonna edit that in post, make sure I put the name in it. If I don't, then get mad at me. I'll tell you in class. So basically we're building the fire upside down. So you got the base, and we're just building it up really dense up the center. Starting with the really big, thick logs, and going to stuff that's a lot thinner and smaller. With this one, I'm not going to use a ton of tinder. I'm going to break off one of these, place it right in the middle. I'm going to grab a few more little sticks here. I'm going to pile it up around the piece of egg carton. And then we're going to grab Old Faithful, little torch. We're just going to start it up. We're going to start burning from the inside of the carton. It's full of bacon grease. All the wood shavings inside of it have bacon grease on them, which means that they're going to act like a candle and they're going to burn for a lot longer than they usually would. May take a little extra to get it started. It's kind of inconsistent because it's homemade. It's not down to an art yet. But once you get that going, you can start stacking your stuff on top. Still be careful about smothering it. You don't want to put it out. It's mostly windproof, so if I blow on it, it's still gonna keep going. I've had these go for several minutes on days with like 50+ km/h winds. That's why you got to be careful of grease fires, especially in the kitchen, because they don't go out. If you blow on them, most of the time they're just going to get stronger. So we're just stacking on top of this, keeping it nice and gentle flame. And so what this is going to do is we're going to create a little bed of embers on top, and it's going to fall through, and it's going to basically burn from the inside of this pile out. And so what that does is this gives it a really efficient long burn. You can leave this one overnight with little to no stoking. And if you want, it's a torch. You can just sort of go around, light stuff at random if you want, but most of what's going on is right back there. If If you want, you can take some other pieces of wood, some bigger stuff, just to get your coals established. Just gonna. And so, as you can see, with this fire, got a mouthful of smoke there. The upside down fire here, it's burning a lot more efficiently. Those two fires over there, the cabin and the teepee, they are really good for hot, fast fire. They'll get going big, strong, but really, they're going to be out long before this one's out. This one's going to stay hot and a lot less smoky for a lot longer. And one of the golden rules of fire making is to never leave the fire unattended. Tonight, I'm going to set up camp here.
This is a great time to talk about safety. Obviously with fires, you want to avoid having them in an area where they can run away. You also want to have something close on hand to put them out. If they do start to get out of control, you need to be careful about not getting burned, and if you do, treat it right away by either running it under cool water or using snow to cool it down. If you end up on fire, stop, drop, and roll. If you become badly burned in a large area, try to cover and avoid fluid loss as much as possible. Call 911. Be careful when it comes to fashioning your own tools. Using a knife may result in cuts and abrasions, and having a first aid kit nearby can help with any minor injuries. Avoid cutting towards yourself or other people, and make sure to keep it sharp. A dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp one. If you decide to spend the night outdoors, don't be like me. I woke up late that night and had my temperature tested, and I'd experienced mild hypothermia. Make sure you have the proper gear for the temperature outside. Especially in winter, you need multiple warm layers to protect you from the elements. Now it's time to go over what we've covered. What we've covered is the teepee fire. It is great fire to start. It's good cooking fire. All the heat goes up the middle, and you got a nice hot spot right up there. Next, we have the log cabin fire. It's a great candidate for a hot, fast fire. Goes easy. And then we have the pyramid / upside down fire. This one is a very long-lasting fire. You don't have to worry about constantly taking care of it all night. You might have to get up and stoke it once or twice. Otherwise, it's good to go. And that is all, folks.